Recchi. Then Mario Lemieux gave the Penguins their only lead of the night 2 minutes later on this outstanding goal. But Bruins center Craig Janney scored to tie the game on a 2-man advantage and send it to overtime. 8 minutes and 14 seconds into the extra period, Rosie Ruzicka scored the overtime winner, his 5th point of the night to give Boston a 5-4 win. Tonight it's Game 3 as the Penguins open up against the Bruins at the Civic Arena in Pittsburgh. Next. And in Pittsburgh, tonight from the Civic Arena, it's Game 3 of the Wales Conference Finals between the Penguins and the Boston Bruins. Hello again, everybody, and welcome to the Civic Arena here in Pittsburgh. The Penguins returning home for their first game of this series. They lost the first two at Boston at the Garden, losing in dramatic fashion to the Bruins 5-4 on Friday night, but they're coming home for some home cooking here in an effort to try and even this series up. And if they should lose tonight, they're really going to be behind the 8 ball in their efforts to try and gain the Wales Conference Championship final and a berth to the Stanley Cup Finals against either Edmonton or Minnesota. And, of course, you come into this game, the emotion has to be very high, and of course, the Bids thought maybe they might have a chance to have Paul Coffey back. Also, some other things happened prior to the game, Paul.
That's right, Mike. I think everybody was looking in the warm-up for Paul Coffey. He did not show up on the ice, and we learn now that he is scratched and will not play in this game, despite the fact that it appeared earlier today that they were getting him ready to play in this hockey game. But something interesting did happen in the warm-up, in addition to the fact that Paul Coffey didn't come out. It was that Jay Caulfield and Chris Nyland got involved in a little scuffle over by the runway that leads to the Boston Bruins locker room. Mike Milbury was down there, the coach of the Bruins, who came over and had a word with Bill McCreary, who's the backup referee tonight. And by the way, we're going to be talking to him during the intermission of tonight's game. We'll be able to ask him about this little incident and what his role is in this situation. But obviously, emotions are high, and a little incident before the game. And we've seen this happen before, Mike, in the playoffs. It's been a couple of years since we've had one of these pregame incidents. Nothing really resulted from it. I think the Penguins realize that they've got to go out here and win one game. You know, they know they have to win 4 to win this series. They're going to win 1 now and then worry about the next game. They can't be already thinking about what they've got to do to win the series. This is a big game here for them tonight with their backs to the wall.
The last time a team in the conference finals came from behind a 2-0 deficit to win a series was 1984. The New York Islanders lost 2 games to the Montreal Canadiens, came back and won 4 straight, went to the Stanley Cup Finals against the Edmonton Oilers, but lost there. So tonight it'll be the Penguins against the Boston Bruins. Penguins need a victory to stay tough in this series. We'll be back with it in just a moment right here on the Penguins Hockey Network.
Let's take a look at the scouting report for Game 3 of the Wales Conference Championship Series. The Bruins line of Ruzicka, Janney, and Neely have totaled 17 of the Bruins' 31 points in the series so far in the first 2 games. That's a line the Penguins have to shut down. Ruzicka has 8 points himself. The Bruins are 3-3 on the road in the playoffs. The Penguins 4-3 at home in playoff competition. The Penguins need to force the attack as they did in Boston, while the Bruins are a real good counterattacking team, and they'll probably play a very patient road game here tonight and look for those opportunities to counterattack against the Pens. The Penguins special teams need to improve. 2 for 14 on the power play, and the Bruins are 5 for 13 on the power play. The crowd will be a factor, and they're up on their feet now.
Well, the Penguins hit the home ice for the first time in this Wales Conference Final, and I remind you folks, too, that the Bruins are a strong road team. During the course of this year, the Bruins were 3 games above 500. They went 18, 15, and 7 on the road in the regular season. They have played only 6 games on the road to date, while playing 9 at home in the playoffs, and they are 3-3 so far. The last man to hit the ice for the Penguins will be Mario Lemieux, who put on a dazzling performance against the Bruins in Game 2, but on a losing cause. And the Penguins with 3 players right now with unbelievable streaks going in the playoffs. Mark Recchi has scored in 10 straight, Lemieux in 9 straight, and Kevin Stevens now has scored in 7 straight games. With the Pens hoping to bounce back in this series. And again, it's a best-of-7 series with the Bruins having home ice. The Penguins must win a game in Boston to win this series. It's pretty simple. They're going to have to be able to do that and, of course, win their home games. Mike Milbury coming out to coach the Bruins, and again that altercation prior to the start of the game. And if I'm not mistaken, Paul, the last altercation that we had between 2 teams was between Boston and Montreal a few years back, when they started battling one another prior to the start of a game in a very ugly incident.
I know the Philadelphia Flyers and Montreal Canadiens had an incident also. Yeah, when Claude Lemieux shot the puck in the direction of the Flyers net, and Ronnie Hextall took exception to it. I think that was the last incident I remember anyway.
That might have been one. It just seemed to me that the Bruins were involved with the Canadiens.
Quite possible.
I also remember one when Quebec and Montreal were involved, if I'm not mistaken, too. And remember, Jean Hamel was really hurt by Chris Nyland, if I'm not mistaken, too. And the Bruins will gather around Andy Moog, who has been nothing short of spectacular. He started every playoff game so far for the Boston Bruins. And the Penguins will send Tom Barrasso to the net, who is in with a 5.15 goals against average against the Bruins in 2 games. Andy Moog at 3.29. It's not that the Penguins have not been able to beat Moog. They've just given up more goals than they've scored, to be simple and honest about it.
As a matter of fact, they seem to have solved Andy Moog somewhat in Game 2. They did score 4 goals on him, so they started to figure out how to beat him, and at least that's given them some confidence that he's not invincible. Tom Barrasso, on the other hand, did not play as well in the first 2 games as he had played in the previous series. And the Bruins, a very opportunistic team, took advantage of the chances they got, and they were able to beat Tommy.
Guess what? We weren't told of this, but it's going to happen again. We're going to have each player individually introduced on both teams.
Well, it's the Final Four
of the game.
And the league, it's much like what they do in the playoffs in Major League Baseball, where they want to give everybody an opportunity for the show here, and this is showtime.
Well, maybe as we go along, we can comment, because we have a couple of games under our belt right now as to what players have done so far in this playoff series. The Bruins will make one change. Chris Winnis is going to play tonight. Game line for the Bruins. Lazaro is their strong penalty killer, along with Dave Poulin.
Number 18.
Chris Winnis played at New Hampshire. He was drafted in the 8th round in '87.
Number 20, Bob Sweeney. Number 23.
And now you're looking at Craig Janney, who has been a force for the Bruins, along with Glenn Wesley, who certainly posed a lot of problems for the Pens on defense. He was the guy who went down to his knees the other night when Gordy Roberts hit him in the face with a glove, and Roberts was given a high sticking penalty. Gary Galley, the defenseman, played at Bowling Green. There's Chris Nyland, who was involved with Jay Caulfield before the game over by the Bruins runway. The fans booing him. Don Sweeney, the defenseman, Mike, I think is probably more prone to rush the puck and get more involved in the offense on this bigger ice surface here tonight. I think he could be more of a factor than we've seen in the previous 2 games.
Jim Weimer, the big tough defenseman the Bruins have back in front of the net. One thing I don't know if you talked about it while I was just moving away to get the scratches again, but the Bruins have no right-handed shooting defenseman in their lineup. We mentioned that during the course of the season, and you would think that maybe even in this situation it might come into play. But they've fared very well. They have battled through it, and they've had Stefan Kentel, of course, but he is out with an injury. The scratches for the Bruins: Kenny Hodge, Wes Walz, Peter Durst, Evan Markward, Stefan Kentel, Ray Bourque, who has been splendid in this series, Alan Peterson, Bob Beers. Warren Foster also scratched. And now the Penguins have been introduced. Their scratches tonight include Jim Pack, Gordy Dineen, Barry Peterson, Randy Gillen, Jay Caulfield, Ken Priestley, Jamie Leach, Randy Hilliard, Paul Coffey, Wendell Young, and Bruce Racine. You know, the winners of the Patrick Division playoffs, the Pittsburgh Penguins. As folks stare on here, anticipating this first game at the Civic Arena with the Bruins leading the series 2 games to none.
This is certainly nice for the home fans, an opportunity to give each player a hand individually. I think more or less it's for the audience across the country, the United States and also Canada. An opportunity for the people at home to see these players.
A big individual matchup between number 5, Ol Samuelson, you saw there, and Cam Neely of the Bruins. Joey Mullen, who returned late in the season. The first playoff series against New Jersey to begin playing. Mark Recchi leads everybody in scoring. And the wrecking ball, by the way, his dad is here, and his dad has seen him lose only 1 time in all the times he's been in this building, so that might be a good sign for the Pens.
Bob Airy, who throws his body around, looks like he's not even wearing any shoulder pads. Brian Trottier, the man with all that playoff experience.
And he was on the last team that came from a 2-0 deficit. The Canadians had beaten the Islanders 2 games at the Forum in Montreal in '84, and the Islanders stormed back and won 4 straight against them. So he knows what that's all about. Troy Loney, who hasn't scored a whole lot for the Penguins in this playoff year, but adds that toughness the Penguins have. There's the big gun for the Penguins, has played very well. Kevin Stevens, a native of Massachusetts. Very steady defenseman, number 28, Gordy Roberts, who was acquired from the St. Louis Blues for a draft choice. Phil Bourque out of Chelmsford, Massachusetts.
There's the man from Framingham, Massachusetts, Peter Taglianetti.
Went to Providence College. Scotty Young, another Boston connection there.
Speaking of Boston,
Acton Boxborough High School, Tom Barrasso.
He's not from Boston. He's from Czechoslovakia. Yuri Hrdina. He's from Niagara Falls, Ontario. Frank Pietrangelo. And was backup goaltender.
Larry Murphy acquired from the Minnesota North Stars with Taggart, and he has played well. And Jaromir Jagr, the rookie sensation of the Penguins.
He had a hat trick against the Bruins here in this building during the regular season. His first career hat trick. The showman. He loves to put on a show for the home fans. Nothing need be said there.
You know what's incredible? Lemieux, of course, missed the first 50 games. His career really was in somewhat of a doubt whether he would continue to play. And you know this has got to warm his heart to get out here again and be able to stand in front of the home folks, a sellout crowd of 16,164, be able to participate once again in the National Hockey League. The referee for tonight's game, by the way, will be Kerry Frazier. Randy Mitten and Ray Scampanello will be the linesmen. And Jeff Jimerson will sing our national anthem here from the Civic Arena. So now you know who everybody is. In a moment, you'll watch them skate over the ice.
By the dawn's early light, what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets red glare, the boats bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Well, the Penguins will settle in decked out of their home whites, and the Bruins on the other side. This time they're in the dark black uniforms with a gold and white trim, just the opposite of what we had at the Garden in Boston. So the folks aren't going to see too much differently as far as watching the game on the television side or being here in person as far as the color scheme is concerned, but they'll just be just the opposite as far as the players are concerned. And the Penguins trying to get back into this series. They're down 2-0. They lost the opening game 6-3 to the Bruins at the Garden, and then in overtime they battled back to take a lead in the third period, only to watch that evaporate on the power play goal by the Bruins, and then they won it in overtime on a goal by Rosie Ruzicka of the Bruins, and it came in the 8th minute of play. So the Penguins so far in overtime this year, if you're keeping track, are 2-1. The Bruins are now 1-2. And the head man of the Pens, Bob Johnson, stares on.
Bob Johnson was so pleased with the way his team played. He knows they're having trouble finishing and scoring the goals against Andy Moog, although, as we said, they did score 4. But he said it's like a guy going up to the plate and hitting nothing but line drives and going 0 for 4. He can't go away from the ballpark saying that he's in a slump. The Penguins aren't in a slump. They played great hockey in Game 2, and they just got to continue to play that way. And maybe things will go their way here in Game 3.
Milbury was here this morning for the morning skate. He brought his whole team together to a certain location, and he started pointing at the crowd. He's just telling them it's going to be noisy, it's going to be crazy. Just play within yourself. I know that's what he was talking to his troops about. And we may fare all right. They're a good road team when we begin to play. And the Penguins and Bruins underway in Game 3. And the Penguins, Ulf Samuelsson decked by Cam Neely. The puck goes into the Bruins end, left wing side. Stevens of Pittsburgh centers it back and went right by everybody and all the way back into the Penguin zone. Barrasso will play the puck for the first time tonight. The Penguin goaltender off to Ulf Samuelsson. Samuelsson winded ahead of Kevin Stevens and now ahead to Ron Francis, who begins the game with Mullen and Stevens on the wings. Bruins shut down that rush, and Cam Neely with 4 goals already in 2 games against the Penguins. Shoots it back into Penguin territory. Stanton delivers it right wing to Joey Mullen of Pittsburgh, but he can't handle it. And Galley will give the puck to Don Sweeney, the Bruin blue liner. Whip it to the Penguin line. Stanton stopped that play, but Ruzicka takes control of it, and he'll slam it into the Penguin zone. From right behind the net, Gordy Roberts defensively. Relay ahead to Gary Murphy, and Murphy can't get it to Lemieux. It bounces up into the Bruins zone, however, to the right wing corner. Sweeney goes in. Lemieux belts in from behind. But the Bruins turn and take command of the puck, and they leave it at center ice. Recchi dumping the puck over to Larry Murphy. Now to Gordy Roberts, and Roberts just shoots it into that right wing corner. Recchi up the boards, coming for the net. Backhand shot, and a good save by Moog. And now the net's dislodged as Bork went right to the goal. Andy Moog came over to say something to Phil Bork as Bork went very strong to the net. Mark Recchi taking that play right off the corner boards and had an opportunity to put it on Andy Moog, but he had the angle covered pretty well.
Mario Lemieux had a breakthrough game in Game 2. A couple of goals for the Penguins, perhaps his best game in the playoffs, and scored an absolutely beautiful goal to put the Penguins ahead in the game late in the third period. Andy Moog wants to get back to the Stanley Cup Finals, come back and see if he can't knock off the Edmonton Oilers. It might not be the Oilers, it might be the Minnesota North Stars, but Moog seems to have a settle to score.
Now that series tied at 1 apiece as the Oilers won last night big at home 7-2. That'll resume tomorrow night at the Met Center in Bloomington for Game 3 there.
Or is it score to settle? Andy Moog is a guy who really doesn't beat himself. He's very, very calm in goal. Unlike his coach, Mike Milbury, who paces a lot behind that Boston bench.
Dave Poulin with Petri Skriko and Dave Christian on for the Bruins, and the Penguins countering with Lemieux, Recchi, and Phil Bork. And the Penguins now watch the Bruins bring it back the other way and shoot it up into Penguin territory up the left wing corner. Skriko tries to center it, and he comes over to Christian, working the right wing side. The Penguins in. Christian turns and shoots it. It was blocked by Gordy Roberts. Back to the right point to Gary Galley of Boston. Swinging around to the left wing corner of the Penguins in. And here's Skriko off the boards, has some room. Roberts goes out to challenge him. And Skriko throws it in the corner, goes after his own pass. Petri Skriko of Boston. Center point now. Giving the puck to Poulin. He'll shoot it to the corner. Roberts again back to play the biscuit. And he fires it ahead to Larry Murphy. Murphy's left wing pass beyond Recchi's reach. And the Bruins again capture the puck. They start right back towards the Penguin line. Don Sweeney moves his way into the Penguins end. Left side to Christian. Gonna take a slap shot right on Barrasso. He'll make the stick save from behind the net. Sweeney of Boston hit by Mark Recchi, but the Bruins keep the pressure on. Now along the near side, a rink-wide pass off the left point. Murphy trying to get it out of there. He does take the man out of the play, and Bob Airy comes rambling back for the Penguins to the Bruins in. Down the right wing, comes in with a backhand shot. Save made, rebound comes in front, but Dave Christian clears that aside away from the net. Around to the near quarter. Recchi and the Penguins can't get a handle on it. Dave Poulin worked to the left point. Jennings had it hit his body, and it caroms back to center circle. And the Bruins, Jeff Lazaro rides it hard into the Penguins in, and he takes a check from Taglianetti to make that play. From right behind the Penguin goal, Grant Jennings. Penalty coming up here. We've got a penalty coming up. It's going to be against the Bruins. A high sticking call against Jeff Lazaro. 17-18 to go.
Jeff Lazaro got involved with Peter Taglianetti and was behind the play. And one thing the Bruins don't want to do, particularly on the road, is take retaliatory penalties. They've got to show some discipline on the ice. Lazaro did not there, and the penalty killer, one of the top penalty killers of the Bruins, is now in the penalty box, and the Penguins will go to work on the power play.
Penguins have only 2 power play goals and 14 chances against the Bruins. And the Pens power play 10th overall out of the 16 teams that began the playoffs, down to just 4 now. Mark Recchi steps in for the Pens.
Kathleen Stappen of Monongahela, Pennsylvania, is our contestant on the Ironman Advantage contest. A $100 bill on the line, compliments of Iron City Beer.
Recchi leads the Penguins in power play goals, and now Kerry Fraser calling for some help from somewhere on the telephone. I'm not sure what that's all about, whether it's the scoreboard clock, whether they have a problem with that or not. And Fraser, I think, is looking at something that's distracting people in the stands. He's pointing up a little bit to our left here. Perhaps it may be a light here that would be used in regard to commercials, but
I just saw a spotlight swinging off over through the crowd over this way. So perhaps a spotlight was on up here and they didn't realize it. It may have been on since the introductions, and they just didn't turn it off.
Yeah, it could be, and I'll bet you the 2 guys, one of the 2 that made a noise about it would be one of the 2 goaltenders. You look up and get a sight of that, you can blind it for a moment and then look back. By the way, Mark Recchi with 5 power play goals to lead the Penguins. Lemieux with 4 and Stevens with 3. And guess who's out here? Yep, Lemieux, Stevens, and Recchi right now, with Murphy and Scott Young as the point men. And Randy Burridge and Bob Sweeney will begin the penalty killing effort for Coach Mike Milbury. No score, first period, penalty at 2:42 to Lazaro, a high sticking call. And here are the Penguins putting the power play into work now. They start from their own end. Murphy leaving the puck to Mark Recchi. Recchi comes up to the Bruins line. He shoots it up the right wing boards in behind the Boston net. Andy Moog leaves it for Ray Bourque. Penguins in battling him. Ray Bourque has played 43 minutes against the Penguins in game number 2. An unbelievable amount. Recchi of Pittsburgh around to the right wing corner to Lemieux. Now to Stevens of the Pens. Back to Lemieux. By the referee Frazier to the left point to Scott Young. Young moves over. Right point pass to Larry Murphy of Pittsburgh. Back behind the net. It goes to Lemieux of the Pens. Lemieux trying to center, and a good play by Ray Bourque to cut it off. Lemieux put it behind the net, but Glenn Wesley drives it around the boards, and out it goes. And the Penguins have to hustle back into their own end to take command of it with a minute 18 to go in the penalty to Lazaro. No score first period. Scott Young now cutting through center ice, giving the puck to Lemieux. He's into the Bruins end, but no, he's not outside. I thought he was the way he slowed down. He tried to change speeds. Lemieux put it in the corner, but the Bruins are right there, and Wesley tap it around the boards. Can the Bruins get it out? Murphy made a good play to come in and pinch in to keep it alive. Wesley of Boston unable to clear. The Penguins double team him. Now Lemieux's after the puck. Centered back out in front, but Bob Sweeney there, and he'll leave the puck to Burridge. Back to Sweeney. Sweeney back to Burridge on the right side, and he shoots it. That'll be knocked down by Scott Young. The Penguins down to 40 seconds to go. In the penalty to Jeff Lazaro, the Bruin forward who took a minor for high sticking at 2:42. Murphy now ahead to Ronnie Francis, who just comes on the ice. Francis of Pittsburgh trying to split the defense. It went by both men and right to the net, and Andy Moog's going to smother them with that glove hand and hold on. The Penguins really have not had a shot yet here on Andy Moog in this power play, and they're still struggling here to make it go, and there's no question that the loss over time of Paul Coffey is going to hurt the Penguins. Just no two ways about it.
Well, Bill Bourque has stepped out here to play the point for the Penguins alongside of Larry Murphy. And with the face-off in the Boston end, I think it's quite important for Ronnie Francis to win this draw here for the Pens, because they have been having trouble setting up, gaining the Boston zone and setting up in the power play. And here's an opportunity now with the face-off deep in the Boston zone to make that happen.
Francis, Mullen, and Jaromir Jagr. Francis won the draw. We'll go to Murphy. Left point to Bourque of the Penguins. Scoreless first period, down to behind the net. Went to Francis just beyond his reach, and Don Sweeney's going to crank it up the board. Murphy with a good play to keep it in. Down to Jagr, right wing boards, halfway up. Jagr poked it in the corner looking for Francis, but the Bruins converge on him. Dave Poulin battling for possession. So as Francis squirts free to Phil Bourque of the Penguins. 9 seconds to go on the penalty. Shoots it, hits somebody on the way in. It was Joe Mullen, the Penguin forward. And the Bruins get the puck off him, and they start right back into the Penguins in. Christian is a man going for the net, and Noah's putting the puck in his own goal with Larry Murphy as he deflected it wide of the net. Penalty is expired. Lazaro is on. Penguins haul it in, and they start the rush back to the Bruins blue line. It's Joe Mullen trying to step around him. Got it to Jagr. Jagr backhand shot. The save made rebound, and Bourque can't put it on the net. Now right back in behind the Boston goal. They jam for it. Joey Mullen comes out, centers it right in front. The Bruins get there first, and Dave Poulin very coolly banks it off the sideboards, and that heads up ice. Paul Stanton turns and skates with the puck right back towards the Bruin blue line. Shot it up ahead. It hit a Bruin coming off the ice. Ruzicka trying to get to it, and Jagr ran into him. But the Bruins have command of it, and they blast it up into the Penguin right wing corner. Going for the puck will be Bob Airy, the Penguin winger. Airy starts away from his own goaltender, Barrasso, with good speed. Left two Bruins in the dust. Airy shoots it ahead from the corner, comes off the boards to Loney. Back to Airy. Right back in behind the goal. But Ken Hammond, the young defenseman, played it now in front. Loney can't find the puck. Neither can Moog, but it went by both men over to the far corner. What happened? Frazier apparently lost sight of it. That's what happened. Frazier lost sight of that puck and blew the whistle. Back to play, and the Penguins fire it right to the net, and Andy Moog again stops it. The play moments ago as Moog was able to gather it in. Well, the Penguins 0 for 1 on the power play, and just 2 for 15 overall in the series. For the Penguins to be successful, they've got to get a better percentage than that to win this series against the Bruins. And a false face-off now. Brian Trottier on here with Bob Airy and Troy Loney. Ball standing off Samuelson on the backside. The Bruins countering with their line here of Poulin, Cam Neely, and Rosie Ruzicka. Behind the Bruins goal, Ken Hammond able to gather it in. Hammond stepping to center circle, and he'll wrist it up into the Penguins in. It comes behind the net where Barrasso will leave it for Ulf Samuelson. Samuelson dumped it back to center ice, and the Bruins fire it right back in. Samuelson again with control of the puck. Swing it to center red. The Bruins go over to get it. They knock it away. Janney is out here. Bruin had handled the draw back in the Bruins in. And the Bruins come into the Penguin zone. They're offside, and Janney was fighting by Bob Airey, and now Airey is hit from behind, and Neely comes in to take a shot at Bob Airey also. Bobby hit him after the whistle sounded, and the Bruins took exception to that.
All Samuelson knocked down Ruzicka. I think the Penguins are going to be much more aware of Vladimir here in this third game, and maybe All Samuelson is going to take a few pieces of him as he has done with Cam Neely over the first 2 games.
We'll return in a moment with Paul Steigerwald, Mike Lang here at the Civic Arena in Pittsburgh. And the Penguins and Bruins, no score. The first 6:09 of the first period. The shots right now, Pittsburgh with 4, the Bruins with 1.
The shot of Mike Milbury, the last goal he scored in the playoffs was against the Penguins. He didn't score too many of them in his career.
He didn't get paid to do that.
No, he didn't.
And here is wrecking out of the left side of Troy Loney. Storm his way into the Bruins end, trying to beat Ray Bourque down the boards, but Weimer's over to help out. And Weimer will give the puck to Jeff Lazaro. Lazaro gave it away to Lemieux in the Boston end. Lemieux walks to the net. Lemieux trying to get it around Moog, and he can't beat him. He got in too tight. Now centers it right in front. It hit Andy Moog's body and bounced wide. The net's dislodged again. Loney right in on top of Andy Moog. Well, giveaway by the Bruins there as Weimer copped it up, and Mario Lemieux then got in, but he was so far in when he first took the puck that he couldn't quite get that play that he wanted to get a good angle on goaltender Andy Moog, and Moog stopped him. And then the rebound bouncing around. The Penguins just couldn't finish it off. Actually, I think as I look at it again on the TV side, it looked to me as though Lemieux did have time to make the play, and he looked to the 5-hole, but Andy Moog just shut it down.
Well, the defenseman went down to try to break up the play. And really, that was Weimer. He kind of took himself out of an opportunity to stop Mario Lemieux by diving to the ice like that, and Lemieux was able to get a good shot in on Andy Moog.
Poulin has the assignment against Mark Recchi. Penguins using Lemieux, Recchi, and Loney right now. And here's Lemieux from the face-off, wristing one that'll hit Bob Sweeney. Picked up by Loney. He can't make a play, and Ray Bourque takes it off his stick and swings it around the boards and back to the Penguin zone. Grant Jennings defensively. Back to play the puck for the Penguins in a scoreless first period, 13-10 left. Jennings steps up, leave it at center circle, and the Bruins again wristed right back into the Penguin net area. Carrasso stumbles a bit, but he got the puck over to the open man, Peter Taglianetti. His pass to center off the glove of Recchi, and right ahead. It's going to be called back here on a hand pass as Recchi directed it over to Troy Loney. That's kind of an interesting line that Bob Johnson's come up with here with Recchi, Lemieux, and Troy Loney working together. They said Loney has not been a big point producer, but apparently they're looking for him to work the corners and maybe run some interference for these 2 guys.
I think the possibility also exists that Loney will try to get in the way of Bob Sweeney, who's also going to be trying to get in the way of Mario Lemieux. And Lemieux getting right on Ray Bourque, right in his face in the Penguin zone, and that's something else we thought we would see more of in game 2. But I think that's a smart play by the Penguins there with Bourque back at that right point, trying to pinch down the boards. Lemieux just gets right in his face and prevents him from stopping that puck coming up the boards. That takes him out of the play before he can get involved in the forechecking of the Bruins.
Bob Sweeney with Ron Hoover now, and Chris Nyland out here for the Boston Bruins, and the Penguins counter here with the Francis line with Stevens and Joey Mullen. And the puck moved back into the Penguins in. Barrasso slided ahead on the right wing to Joe Mullen of the Penguins. He copped it up to Ray Bourque, but Bourque can't handle it, and the Penguins can't either. And Ron Hoover deals it up to the Penguin line. Cody Roberts pulls back into Penguin territory, backpedaling. Finds Stevens on a lead pass. Right wing attempt for Francis off the boards. Bruins in. Francis stops in the Bruins in, trying to leave it for Stevens. And it hit a leg and carries right to the Bruins, Ron Hoover. Hoover now up ahead. Stevens got a piece of him. Hoover comes off. Nyland carries the puck going to the Penguins end. Left side as Poulin knocked it towards the net, but the Penguins get down to one knee, and that is Murphy to make the play, and he shoots it out of his own end back to center. Still scoreless here, and the lead pass is going to be called back on a 2-line offside pass against the Penguins.
Well, I think the Bruins might be keying on Larry Murphy a little bit. He had 5 shots in game 1, only 1 in game 2. Ron Francis with plenty of experience against Boston and knows the style that they play, and he figures the Bruins will be a patient team and play that defensive type of game here on the road, try to be a good counter-attacking team.
Penguins need to get Francis going too, I think, offensively here in this series, and I didn't think he played particularly well in game 2, despite the fact that he made a big save in overtime. But I think Ronnie is going to have to pick it up another notch, and he's capable of doing that at times, and you just look for kind of a key performance from him in games. And
I think, Mike, that it seems though every time Kevin Stevens is put back on his line, Francis's game comes up a notch, and Stevens has been playing more with Lemieux, and as a result, Francis hasn't been as productive offensively, but he does a lot of other things out there that you don't notice on the score sheet.
Yager ahead to Trottier, and he snaps it away to the Bruins in, and Andy Moog's going to cover to the right of his own goal and hold it there. Andy Moog has played in every playoff game so far for the Boston Bruins, and that's 15. They'll make it 16 now. Played in 7 of the last 10 of the regular season. He has seen a lot of work here for the Bruins, but he certainly has responded, and the difference in the Montreal series was Andy Moog. Number 35. Interesting, he got a couple of 35s working against each other, Barrasso and Moog. Number not used too often by goaltenders. Left point of the Bruins in. Roberts over to Larry Murphy. Now comes down the slot. Murphy, a Pittsburgh backhand shot, never found the net. And along the near boards, where's corralled now by Murphy, who's way in deep in the play to Bob Erie. Behind the net to Jaromir Jagr of the Penguins. Jagr comes out to the right of Moog. Might have a chance here. Turning backhander, hit a stick. And Karam's wide of the net. Taken now by the Bruins, Don Sweeney. He'll tap it ahead, and Bob Sweeney of Boston has it. Back to Don Sweeney on the right side. And he bangs it into the Penguins in, around to the left wing corner. No score first period. The Bruins get it. They center it in front, but Bob Sweeney can't get a shot off. And Gordy Roberts pulls back behind his own net. Delivers the puck left wing to Bob Erie. Rink wide. Intended for Jagr off his blade. And the Bruins again take command of it in their own territory. Ken Hammond. His pass broken up by Larry Murphy, and it comes back to Jagr. 1-on-2 to the Bruins in on the near side. Takes off against Hammond. Beat him by a half a step. Carries it all the way around to the far corner. Now they both go down. For it in the corner. Jagr falls on top of the puck, and we'll get a stop in play. We've played almost 9 minutes here in the first period of game 3. There is no score. The Penguins and Bruins here on the Penguins Hockey Network.
It's hometown flavor and the glitz and glamour of the big time as Syria Temple and Kogo's bring Circus Vegas to the Civic Arena May 31st through June 2nd. See high-flying acrobats, amazing trained animals, the funniest clowns, and tons of elephants. It's Syria Temple's Circus Vegas with affordable seats in the comfort of the Civic Arena. Get your tickets now at all choice seat locations or call 412-333-SEAT.
Outside the Boston blue line. Pullman out here again against the Penguins, Mario Lemieux, and the Penguins win the draw. And Taglianetti deals it back into the Bruins into the rink. Along the near corner, Jennings went in deep on the play. The Penguins sending some defensemen in here in this first period down deep. The Bruins whack it away, and they get it back to center ice. Phil Bourque over to Taglianetti, who couldn't find Mark Recchi in the wrecking ball. Watches Bourque come in and get it. He runs into Glenn Wesley of the Bruins, and the puck bounces up into the Penguins in. Pullman lost his glove, the Bruin forward. And the Penguins chase after it in their own territory. Bourque's pass along to Grant Jennings. Now to Lemieux. Trying to find Recchi. It goes through to the Bruins in. Wesley fell down. Recchi's going to get the puck. He goes into the Bruins in. From behind the net now turning. Looking to center from Lemieux, and he can't get it to him. Left point. Samuelson shoots it. That'll miss the net. And off the boards, it's corralled by Petri Skriko. Is slammed hard against the wood by Mark Recchi. The Bruins again snap it ahead back to center. And here they come going to the Penguins in. Dave Christian shoots that one towards a Penguin goal. Samuelson gets the puck around the boards, but Weimer has the puck, shoot it long range on goaltender Barrasso. He'll make the save. And the Penguins feed it ahead back to center. Stevens to Recchi. He'll shoot it in. The Penguins go to the bench and change on the fly. Bruins have had only 2 shots in extended periods in this series so far in games. The Penguins have held the Bruins with a very low number of shots for extended periods of time, and it's kind of that situation here again. We've gone 10 minutes. The Bruins have had 2 shots, and both of those really kind of harmless as the Bruins are offside coming to the Penguin zone.
And I think because of that, because of the fact that Barrasso doesn't get a lot of work, you see him pacing a lot more in goal. And to be honest with you, I think it gives him more time to think, and maybe that's not good. No goaltender wants to be down at the other end and getting cold while all the action is occurring up at the other end. He likes to get some action too. Barrasso certainly was accustomed to that against the Washington Capitals, but we've seen him going for a lot of skates around that crease, going out and just trying to get his legs and stay warm down there in that Penguin goal crease. Mark Recchi with a chance earlier tried to whip that puck in front, but good defensive play. Lemieux is being hounded by Dave Poulin now all over the ice when he's on there, interfering with Lemieux. blocking him from the slot area, interfering with him basically.
And it'll be Mullen out of the Bruins into Stevens. One right point. Attempted pass for Stanton came outside the line. The Penguins have to regroup and set up and push back with the Penguin zone. Barrasso again turns it aside for Rolf Samuelsson. Samuelsson delivers it over to Kevin Stevens, and he'll find Mullen up in the left wing. Francis going for the puck back into the Bruin zone. Francis will get there. He centers it. Came right off a Bruin player, and Karam's over to the near wing. Boston looking to get it out, and Ray Bourque will push it ahead to center ice to Jim Weimer. Good right wing pass to Craig Janney. Janney looks back for Neely, cutting for the goal. He's too well covered in the play by Kevin Stevens, and the Penguins turn and fire it up the boards and away to the Bruins end. Bruins want icing. Moe does, but it's not going to be. It never went across the goal line. And Weimer now steering the puck up to center. It will come to the Penguin blue line where it's stopped by Gordy Roberts. Roberts gets it to Trottier. Short little pass to Loney. Ahead to Yager. One-on-one with a man back. Yager shoots it. Oh, a good shot, but he missed the goal. Down the right side. Murphy fires up on the right point. That'll be off Moog's stick. Around to the far corner. Trottier of Pittsburgh trying to leave it for the open man cutting down the slot. It was Roberts, but he couldn't get it to him. Couldn't connect on that pass. Don Sweeney. Bruins defenseman. Move it up the left wing. And Rosie Rosicka sneaks it back to the Penguin stripe. 8:27 to go in the first period. No score in game 3. The Penguins and Bruins. And it's lofted back into Bruins territory. Don Sweeney moved it around the left side. Roberts cut it off. He shoots it towards the net. And knocked away by Mulligan. The rebound. Yager can't get there, but the net has come off the moorings again. And we'll stop with 8:17 to go in period number 1. No score in the first period on the Penguins Hockey Network.
Welcome to Pittsburgh. What can I rustle up for you, partner?
If you think you're saving money eating fast food, think about this. At King's, for the same money, you could get lots of choices, lots of delicious food, and lots of time to enjoy it.
Yippee-yi-yo!
Next time, make it King's.
Well, as you would expect, the fans quick to jump on referee Kerry Fraser here tonight after what happened in game 2. Every time he makes a call one way or the other, the fans are responding to it. And Moog making a save. The puck came through and was lying there, and Yager just couldn't get to it. He fanned on it as he came flying down that slot. In the meantime, the net had been dislodged, and so the whistle blew. Kerry Fraser blowing the whistle.
Loney and Nyland exchange a few words here as we get ready for play back in the Bruins blue line. Mario Lemieux out on here with Recchi and Troy Loney. And Nyland and Loney, who've had battles in the past, step in against one another. Here they go, right from the face-off. And there's going to be a fight between Loney and Chris Nyland. This will be the first fight of the series, I believe. Loney trying to get Nyland. Nyland comes with an uppercut, and Loney trying to put a hand into him and swings him against the boards. These two guys battled when Nyland was with New York and the Rangers in that series. And Nyland and Troy Loney going at it. And Loney got his arms wrapped around Nyland. He's trying to get himself free. Loney is so strong, and he has great balance. And now the linesman will try and pry them apart.
Well, I'll be very interested to see if Nyland picks up an instigating penalty here, because it was pretty obvious that he was doing everything in his power to lure Troy Loney into a fight. And it seems as though Nyland has that on his mind anyway here tonight.
We'll have our first penalties. Well, not the first ones. Nyland and Loney will be going off here.
They were warned, too, by Fraser.
No score in the first on the Penguins Hockey Network.
Back when America went outside to beat the heat, one man was making it better inside. Willis Carrier invented air conditioning. He changed summer thrillers to chillers and turned business brisk. Year after year, since 1902, Carrier has been making it better inside.
Wouldn't you guys like to play outside?
Carrier. We're the inside guys. Call us.
Well, Loney's got some blood in the mouth, and that's because Chris Nyland connected with a right hand on him on that.
I think the uppercut is when he got him. But Nyland is the one guy that will negate him, and neutralize him will be Troy Loney. And now they're in the penalty box for 5 minutes each for fighting.
No instigating penalty.
And Bob Sweeney, well, they both pretty much went at it, Paul, right from the drop, and grabbed onto one another. Gloves came off simultaneously, so we've got the coincidental majors. It'll be Stanton moving the puck to center. Ray Bourque of the Bruins. The Bruins shoot it away to the Penguins. In Barrasso gave it right to Neely in the right wing corner. He centers it out, but the Penguins cut that off and dropped it back to center. Barrasso wheeled it right to the corner, but Neely picked it off. And now it's Ray Bourque colliding with Mario Lemieux. And here come the Bruins carrying the mail back into the Penguins in. Lemieux is kind of shadowing Ray Bourque right now. Watch him on this play. And the Bruins shoot it away to the Penguin right wing corner. Samuelson after the puck. They'll leave it for Neely, and Lemieux is all over Ray Bourque. He's just all the way back at center ice. Bourque trying to get himself free, and they're negating him, taking him out of the action. Now to the right side. It'll be Randy Burridge and the Penguins in. Giving the puck to Bob Sweeney. It squirts through right to the net, and Barrasso will stop it. And he'll hold it there. So Mario Lemieux's assignment right now is to check Ray Bourque, and he's keeping him pinned back towards center ice so he can't get up in the play in the Penguin zone. So a little taste of the Bruins medicine as Lemieux goes after Ray Bourque.
You can imagine how frustrating it must be for the great players to have to put up with that. You know, they got some guy that scores 4 goals a year out there hanging on all over him and preventing them from demonstrating the great skills that they have. It's very, very frustrating. So Lemieux at this point probably will find it somewhat fun to go out there and kind of return the favor on Raymond Bourque. He's not your typical shadow, Mario Lemieux, but it is I think effective nevertheless to have somebody out there challenging the guy who dominates at times for the Boston Bruins, number 77, Ray Bourque.
They pulled in on with Petri Strico and Dave Christian. That's the Bruin line on the ice right now. In the face-off to the left of Tom Barrasso with 7:25 to go in the first period. No score. And Francis in against Poulin. Francis won the draw. The Penguins have had good success on the face-offs in this series so far against the Bruins, but they trail in the series 2-0. And delivered long and deep into the Bruins end. This will be an icing call against the Penguins. You would think as this game goes, Paul, maybe not at this point, but the longer it goes in a tight game like this, the more it's going to favor the Bruins. And they're a quest to try and win a third game. You would think the Penguins' big explosive machine would want to come to life as soon as possible and get it going that way.
I would agree with that. And Rick Patterson said he thought that the Bruins would try to win a game 1-0 here.
Well,
so it's nothing so far with 7:16 to go in the first period. Mike Milbury wanting his team to play that defensive style that they've been noted for over the years. And one thing about the Bruins, they play that way all year long, so it's very, very natural for them to play this way in the playoffs too.
They're no different. It was successful for them during the course of the regular season, and it has been successful for them with the playoffs, the reign of the years that they've made the playoffs. They went to the finals last year and has played off the boards back into the Bruins zone. And Stevens, after for the Penguins, centers it back. Francis there is shot. He missed the goal. Had a good chance there on the right side. Scott Young wristing one that'll be blocked. Young's on the right wing in the shooting right now. And Scotty Young takes the puck, swinging it behind the net to Ron Francis. Looks for Stevens. He's there. On the goal line. Out to Young. Shoots it. Right too much on it. And Andy Moog just cut the angle down and made the save as Galley and Stevens fall on top of Andy Moog. And Scotty Young going back on the right wing on this line. And Moog gets up away from all that big pile. Jam up with Galley and Stevens, the 220 pounds on top of him.
Well, Gary Galley, we had a shot of him earlier, and I wanted to talk about him because I had a nice conversation with him today at the morning skate. And Galley had gone to the Washington Capitals and said he learned quite a bit about playing defense in the Washington organization. They play a system very similar to Boston's, and he said that he really didn't have a chance to use what he learned very much in Washington because he just didn't get much ice time. But he felt that a lot of the stuff that he learned in Washington, now he's being able to put to good use here in Boston. And he's another guy who's a left-handed shot playing that right side, but he said he's done that throughout his career with Los Angeles and Washington. He played with Stevens.
Scott Young from the face-off, a big booming shot, and that's stopped by Andy Moog. Off his blocking glove, and the Bruins counter-attack penalty coming up here. Francis was pulled down. The Bruins will be shorthanded for the second time in the game. Barrasso comes off. The Penguins pull their goaltender, and Lemieux is going to come on the ice, the extra attacker. Ahead to Stevens of Pittsburgh Bruins. And he shoots and scores! Kevin Stevens gives the Penguins a 1-0 lead. He caught Moog by surprise as the Penguins score on a delayed penalty call and lead 1-0. Now, Eddie Spaghetti. I have a feeling it might have hit a stick on the way in, Paul. Stevens' shot may have changed directions on Andy Moog. It's slowed enough to throw his timing off.
It certainly caught him by surprise. He reacted in an odd way to the shot by Stevens and went off the far post. The penalty for pulling down Francis occurred as the Bruins were coming out of that Boston zone. And Tom Barrasso got off the ice in a hurry. Francis got back into the play, gave the puck to Stevens. And he fired it into the net. I don't know if that did hit anything.
I believe the defenseman put his stick out, and it may have touched it. Taglianetti and Francis on the assist on the goal by Kevin Stevens.
It was Taglianetti who took the pass from Francis and then gave it to Stevens.
So Stevens firing from 40 feet out. And the Penguins have a 1-0 lead. The penalty will not be called, and Poulin was the man that was headed to the box for tripping Ron Francis, but the Penguins convert with the goaltender pulled the extra man on, and they lead 1-0. Trottier now scooting back to the Bruins line down the right side of Yager. Yager had a poke check away. Stanton has it on the slide. Trottier's deflection just missed along the near wing. The Bruins trying to steer it out, and they can't do it. Samuelson drops it back in behind the Bruins net. Moe couldn't stop it. The Penguins trying to center. Yager had his stick too well covered, couldn't get it free. Now it's held again. The Penguins working free. Trottier trying to go for the open man Bob Berry, but the pass a little short. Bruins banging back to center, and Samuelson wheels that one right back into the Bruins zone. From behind the Boston net, Glenn Wesley. Outlet pass to center ice, and here come the Bruins. Ruzicka leads the way, going to the Penguins end. Drop pass to Janney. Janney, look out, his wrist shot saved by Neely. Tried to put it in the rebound, and he couldn't quite connect. Now the Penguins forced behind their own net, and Brian Trottier moved it up to Yager, and he delivers it off the wood, and Karam's back to the Bruins zone. The Penguins go to a line change. Stevens is 10th for the playoffs from Francis and Taglianetti. Boston again leads the rush back. Chris Winnis, the youngster out of the University of New Hampshire, is out for his first appearance for the Bruins, but the Bruins are offside. 5:15 to go in the first period. Pittsburgh 1, Boston nothing on the Penguins Hockey Network.
We're here with Jay Bell.
Hey, we're in the middle of a game.
It's all right, just take a second. Did you know at Giant Eagle there's a lot you can feel good about? Take a look at this.
At Giant Eagle, find Mardi Gras paper towels or napkins for only 59 cents.
Huh? See what I mean?
Hey, look out! You okay?
Bob, that's really sloppy camera work.
Giant Eagle, a lot you can feel good about, especially the price.
Boston with a good opportunity as Janney came into the slot and sneaked a shot in on Barrasso. He made a big save there because that really came through traffic. It was right along the ice. He got his right pad out to make the save, and then Neely followed up on the rebound shot.
That was the Bruins' best scoring chance of this first period right there. And Neely running interference in on Barrasso creates some problems there.
I'll tell you, Old Samuelson hit Neely a little earlier, pinching down the left wing boards in the Boston zone, and the fans just responded beautifully to Samuelson's hit. They noticed it. And then Yager went to work along the boards, just a relentless work along the wood on the near side.
Back to play in the Bruins in. Lemieux with a giveaway. Lazaro trying to beat two Penguins. Jennings and Taglianetti after the Penguin line, but he fell down, and Taglianetti pulls it in, but a penalty coming up against the Penguins. It'll be a hooking call, and Pittsburgh will be shorthanded. Well, the Bruins will work with a man advantage, and this is where they have been tremendous in this series to date. They are 5 for 13 on the power play.
Jennings.
15:02 the time of the penalty to Jennings, a hooking call.
Lazaro with tremendous speed. He was a defenseman in college, and one of those offensive defensemen. He said he used to watch guys like Paul Coffey, and now he's a forward. He's an excellent penalty killer and a good role player for the Boston Bruins. Just great legs. He's like a terrier, you know. He just has that. You can just see when you see him how he's built. He just looks like he'd be a guy who could fly out there on the ice.
Well, he's drawn 2 penalties. Just thinking back to game number 2, he drew the penalty that gave the Bruins a power play to begin with in the third period, an effort to tie the game, and they got another one against Gordy Ravers. Now he draws another penalty here with that speed. And now the Penguins shorthanded. They have 4 players on the ice and a goaltender. The Bruins have 5, plus their netminder, Andy Moe. So they have the advantage, a power play advantage, they call it. And Neely against Ron Francis. In this situation, this is, as we mentioned to you, the Bruins have been very successful. 5 of 13 opportunities they've converted on. They've got it right side of the Penguins in. Ray Bourque to the left side over to the open man Wesley. Now back to Bourque, left point. To the right side to Craig Janney. Janney looking, doesn't shoot it. Goes deep in the corner. Ruzicka shoots it from a bad angle, and Barrasso got a stick on that shot.
Watch out for Wesley in deep on the left side. Mike sneaking in from that left point.
And here are the Penguins. Samuelson trying to get to it. He smothers the puck as he falls down. It squirts free. Where is it? He pushes it with his hand right to a Bruin, though, and Janney takes command of it. Drop it back over, and Samuelson's got it. Can he clear? Tried to. Came off the near side. Francis can't get it out. Ray Bourque into the near corner. Ruzicka comes in, shoots it, and a good save by Barrasso there. Boy, Ruzicka gave him $1 million move there. A look off, and then fired it, and he almost scored. From behind the Penguin net, Ruzicka centers for Neely. Still a loose puck, and Joey Mullen comes up with it. And the Penguins clear with 1:15 to go. The Bruins really dominating here on this power play chance. Kept it in the Penguins in for the first 45 seconds. Ray Bourque on one leg. A cross-rink pass to Wesley, who scoots his way into the Penguins in. Wesley of Boston stopped near boards to Craig Janney. Janney denied by Lemieux. Lemieux around the boards. Ray Bork's over to cut it off. He holds it in. Good pass over quickly to Wesley. Wesley in the slot. Look for Neely. Can't get it to him. Now with it, it's Janney again. Left side of Bork. Fires it right on Barrasso. The save. The rebound. Penguins can't find it. The blue line kept in by Ray Bork. He gave it away to Taglianetti. And now to Lemieux, and he'll wrist it up ice to take the heat out of a very hot kitchen.
Lemieux is getting much more, becoming more of a threat against shorthanded, Mike. I noticed in game 2, and I think he's getting stronger as a penalty killer now.
This Bruins team has given up 3 shorthanded goals in the playoffs so far. Lemieux has the puck, though, in his own end. He'll play it off a Bruin and get it back. And Mario Lemieux skates to center now. Turns around, trying to kill the clock. 20 seconds to go in the penalty. And off it goes back into Bruins territory. Ray Bork. Dump it over to the right wing to Dave Christian. He lost it to Scott Young. Young moving back for the Penguins to Phil Bork. He has good speed, puts the brakes on Bruins in. His slap shot blocked by Galley, and that goes into the seats. And the Penguins will successfully kill the Bruins' first power play chance, which has only 3 seconds left, and then a face-off coming up now in Bruins territory.
Well, the best chance on the power play for the Bruins was the one that was created by Rosie Rosicka, who stepped in there and seemed to fake to the far post and went back to the near side on Barrasso. He had his right pad out as if he was going to go to that far side and was still able to get his arm or something on that shot by Rosicka as he tried to go to the short side. Gary Galley told me today he feels the Bruins power play is better on the road than it is at home. They have more ice to work with, and creative players that they have, and Janney and Rosicka and Raymond Bork, he feels that they can be more effective away from home with the man advantage.
Penguins lead 1-0 on a Kevin Stevens goal with 13:31 of period number 1. Where Stevens is 10th of the playoffs from Taglianetti and Ron Francis. And Trottier joined on the ice by Mark Recchi and Kevin Stevens now. And the Bruins win the faceoff from their own end. They'll leave it for Don Sweeney. Sweeney cuts his way to the Penguin stripe, comes down, long shot. Barrasso got a glove up to stop that, but it was an offside call against the Bruins.
I mentioned during the introductions, Mike, that I think Don Sweeney is more of a threat offensively on that blue line for the Bruins away from home than he is in the Boston Garden. He's a pretty good skater and a pretty good offensive defenseman, and he scored a breakaway goal against Montreal on the road in that first series. He does have that ability, and I think he's more of a threat here. Just watch out for number 32, Don Sweeney of the Boston Bruins.
Francis pulls it back to Mark Recchi, and the Penguins just shoot it ahead back off the boards towards the Bruins zone. Don Sweeney back to capture it. Stopping behind Andy Moog for just a moment. Now skates to the right of him and starts up the near boards. Coming to center ice. Sweeney stripped of the puck for a moment. And the Penguins get command of it. They do. Stevens has it, but he gave it right back to Gary Galley of Boston. Back and forth they go from the neutral zone. Dave Christian gave it to Ron Francis. He gave it right back to Dave Christian. And the Bruin right winger looks left wing to Petri Skriko. Off to Burridge now on the left wing. Burridge comes down. He'll snap one that'll miss the mark. Penguins chase after it, and Stevens lay it ahead to Mark Recchi. Recchi coming back to the Bruins in. Got a half a step on Galley, but he's turned around, knocked off his skates, and play goes back to the blue line. Loose at the Bruins stripe on the far side, and a big check by the Penguins. Taglianetti sends Burridge away from the puck, but the Bruins do take control of it. Now they shoot it ahead of the Penguins in. Down the right wing, Skriko trying to get around the man. Can't do that. And the Penguins again fired back to center ice. Bork took a hit from one of the Penguins. It was Ray Bork. Ronnie Francis of Pittsburgh finds Mark Recchi. Recchi pulls up. He's kind of trapped, and he lost the puck to Jim Weimer. Weimer had a big threat to score. Lets it go from 50 feet, and Barrasso made an easy save. And the Penguins trying to make a wholesale change here. And Trottier guns back with 1:35 to go in the period. Shoots it in behind the Bruins net, and Andy Moog working around to the far corner. And Loney gets up with the Penguins. Ooh, he had a man open, cutting with the goal. Yager, he couldn't get it to him. Now he centers, and there's still nobody there. And the Bruins scoot back to the Penguin stripe. Ron Hoover lost the puck to Yager, who back checks effectively. Yager's pass right to Lazaro, though, coming to the Penguins in a long slap shot, and that is stopped by Barrasso. Off in behind the net, Larry Murphy. Around to Roberts. Turn it over left wing to Troy Loney. Loney scooting to the Bruins line. He'll come in, trying to run his way right over Ray Bork. Gets into the corner. Wesley over to help out, and he'll wrist it around the horn, and it comes over to Jeff Lazaro with less than a minute to go. Penguins poke check it away, back into the Bruins in again. Bruins are actually out shooting Pittsburgh now 9-8 in this first period. Stanton had the puck, but it came off his stick right to Randy Burridge. Left wing Lazaro. Penguins in. A slap shot blocked by the Penguins. Ulf Samuelson. Lazaro's got to get in front for Neely. Couldn't get it through to him. Now Randy Burridge of the Bruins. Left side. Trying to shoot it. He does towards the net. Block. Look out. Neely's there. He can't get a stick free. And the Penguins take command of it. Mark Recchi just slides it back to center. 28 seconds to go. And off it comes to Ulf Samuelson. Samuelson's passed to Recchi. He is a hip check neatly by Lazaro, who set him off his skates. Recchi checks the number, but it was a good check by Lazaro. And at center ice, Ken Hammond. Again, the neutral ice area. Bork collides with Neely, and Neely wheels a little elbow on Phil Bork. And the Bruins tap it away to the Penguins. There with 7 seconds to go in the period. They'll put it behind the Penguin net. Chris Nyland, look out, there's a man in front. Burridge, and he can't get it to him. And the period ends. That'll do it. That's the end of the first period. And a look at the scoreboard. And the Penguins have the lead 1-0 over Boston right here on the Penguins Hockey Network.
Imagine a place where summer never ends. Orlando, Florida is the #1 family vacation destination in the entire USA. Royal Travel can take you there for only $2.99. Fly US Air round trip and stay 7 nights at an Orlando family resort. And kids under 16 travel for only $179. Explore the magical Walt Disney World and experience all the fun and excitement of Universal Studios Florida. Call your local travel agent or Royal Travel today to receive your free Orlando vacation brochure.
My Celica? It's great. The performance is unbelievable. Plenty of power, great handling. I even saved $800 on an option package and got an incredible stereo system.
I love the way my Celica looks. And you know, even with the features I wanted, I got it for a great price.
Value? Hey, it's a Toyota.
Great resale value, too. Ready?
Let's go.
See your Toyota dealer today for Toyota value. It's the best deal going.
Stay tuned for an important offer from Barron's.
You usually buy a stock in the expectation that it's going to go up. The problem is you're buying it from someone who's equally convinced that it's going down. This sobering observation is brought to you by Barron's. Because the difference between happiness and unhappiness in such exchanges often comes down to who's better informed. And that's where we can help. With weekly updates on thousands of stocks and bonds, interviews with insightful stock pickers, reports on promising companies, and one of the most complete statistical digests published anywhere. Of course, you could ignore all that and trust your luck. But then Barron shows up every week without fail, which is more than you can say for luck.
Subscribe now to Barron's and get 13 weeks for only $28 with a money-back guarantee. Call 800-232-2700. That's 800-232-2700.
At the Civic Arena in Pittsburgh, we check the appliance store scoring summary, and the Penguins leading 1-0. A goal by Kevin Stevens, his 10th of the playoffs. At 13:31, Paul Stanton and Ron Francis. The assist I got on the board were Taglianetti and Francis, but we'll double-check that. And the goal again at 13:31. The Bruins outshot the Penguins 9-8 in the first period of play, and the power play opportunities, one for each, and neither team able to score with the man advantage. Paul Steigerwald is standing by with a special guest. Let's go down the ladder and join him right now.
Thank you very much, Mike. And it is a special guest because we very rarely talk to referees between periods, but we have an opportunity to do that tonight. Not the guy who's working this game, Kerry Fraser, working the game tonight, but the backup referee is Bill McCreary. And Bill McCreary has been involved in the National Hockey League as an official, as a referee for 9 years. And Bill, before we get to talking in more generalities, I want to talk specifically about something that happened before the game. It was a little bit of an incident down there by the runway, and Jay Caulfield, Chris Nyland getting involved. You were there. What happened, and what's your role in that situation as the backup referee?
Well, Paul, first of all, there's always some jawing that goes on in pregame warm-ups. It's an inciting purpose on both teams, and they try to throw one team off of the other team, and what eventually happened was that they ended up in the corner together where Boston goes off at the exit, and they exchanged some words, and there might have been a push or two from either player, and we immediately got in there and we were able to control it.
At that point, do you file any kind of a report or anything like that? Just kind of put that in your pocket and just kind of remember that something like that happened and there's a possibility for more? What's your role at that point?
Well, following the game, I'll have a discussion with Mr. Gregory. He's the Vice President of the National Hockey League. He's in attendance tonight. And he and I together will file a report to Brian O'Neill in the Montreal office. Okay, Bill, I want to ask you about officiating in general. You hear so many people who aren't part of the game, fans, and people who are part of the game, who think the game should be called certain ways. They expect
certain penalties not to be called in certain situations, late in hockey games, in the playoffs. You don't call this in overtime. You know, it seems like there's a bunch of different opinions as to when a guy should call a penalty. What's the rule of thumb from a referee standpoint in terms of when a penalty should be called and in what situation, what time, what point of the game?
Well, personally, Paul, myself, when I'm on the ice working, I don't like to take the game away from the hockey players. And if they dictate that they want to play the game the way it's supposed to be, I allow them to play. Later on in the game, no referee wants to make a decision that is going to cost either team the hockey game. On the flip side of that, if a player decides to take the matter into his own hands and do something that's over and above and beyond the rules that we allow, then he has to be penalized.
No matter when it happens in the game, in other words, overtime, end of a period, late in the hockey game, whatever the situation?
Well, I think over the last 3 years, especially if you look at the statistics, there's been a lot more penalties called late in the third period and in overtime periods. And I think it's only because of the player's size and the speed of the game is increasing all the time, and it's just part of the game now. It's being more accepted.
Well, certainly in the playoffs, we've seen a lot of shadowing going on. Esa Tikkanen shadowing Wayne Gretzky. Brett Hull was shadowed. Mario Lemieux, of course, being shadowed by Bob Sweeney, Dave Poulin. Now Mario Lemieux shadowing Ray Bourque. What's the rule of thumb for referees on shadowing? Because it obviously is a form of interference all over the ice, but you can't call it constantly, I guess.
Well, Paul, certainly, as you have mentioned, the shadowing that's gone on in the different rounds of the playoffs, and it's to neutralize the superstar on the team or the player who the other team expects to get the most goals. And providing the players not eliminated completely from a play, we allow the shadowing. It's been going on for years in the business, and you can't take that away from the team who's trying to defend the superstar.
So I guess in a sense, even though it is, if you read the rule book with interference in a way, by the letter of the rule, that would be interference many times. But I guess it's just a unique situation. You said it's been going on for years. Who was the first guy to do it, I guess, and make it famous?
Well, we go back with Brian Watson on Bobby Hull, and I think a few years before that it was Claude LaRose from Montreal used to shadow different players in the league, and Vic Hadfield when he was with New York, and so it has been going on a long time. It's nothing new, and I know there were shadows on Gordie Howe when he played, and Bobby Orr, and so on and so forth. So it's been going on for the different generations, decades of the game, and providing it doesn't take away a good goal-scoring opportunity or a potential injury to a player or eliminate him from a specific play, a 2-on-1, we have to allow that shadowing to go on.
Okay, Bill, thanks a lot for being with us. I wanted to ask you quickly what you do in the off-season. If you could just answer it very quickly because we have to go, but what do you do?
Spend some long, special time with my family.
That's great. Well, we appreciate it, and enjoy the playoffs.
My pleasure, Paul. Thank you.
Bill McCreary, NHL referee, is the backup tonight to Kerry Fraser. And we'll have more hockey from the Civic Arena, the Wales Conference Final Series, Game 3, here on the Penguins Hockey Network.
Greatest driving range, McDane Golf Center, routes 48 and 130 in Monroeville. You've got to see it to believe it. Water hazard at the world's greatest driving range, McDane Golf Center, routes 48 and 130 in Monroeville. You've got to see it to believe it.
Imagine a place where summer never ends. Orlando, Florida is the #1 family vacation destination in the entire USA. Royal Travel can take you there for only $2.99. Fly US Air round trip and stay 7 nights at an Orlando family resort, and kids under 16 travel for only $179. Explore the magical Walt Disney World and experience all the fun and excitement of Universal Studios Florida. Call your local travel agent or Royal Travel today to receive your free Orlando vacation brochure.
Of the minivan is now complete.
Look for the showroom displaying the new logo of the dealers with the advantage.
The Coach House presents the benefits of being a big and tall man. You can stand in the deep end of a swimming pool. It's easier to get a bank loan. Women think you're a pro athlete. And you can look head and shoulders above the rest at the Coach House with fuller, longer cut designer clothing, custom tailoring, and the sewn-in Woolmark label that's your assurance of quality tested fabrics made of the world's finest pure wool. The Coach House, where big and tall men never get no for an answer.